Georgia. We're in the College Football Hall of Fame just down the road from Mercedes-Benz Stadium, where Saturday afternoon, 4 o'clock, LSU, Oklahoma, right here in the College Football Hall of Fame. And we are pleased to be joined by my SEC Network colleague, former Florida Gator great, Mr. Chris Doering. How are you, CD?
I'm good. It's my pleasure to be here with you, TB.
Well,
you get up every Monday morning and do SEC This Morning with me and Peter Burns, so this is the least I can do, man.
Well, I appreciate that. We have a lot of fun on this show. Let's start here. Obviously, you've been watching LSU all year long. You have seen them come from that first game against Texas when we went, wow, they may be up to something here. What has been the one or two things that has impressed you the most about this run by LSU?
I know how everybody hates when analysts try to make it about themselves, but I'm going to make it about myself only to compliment LSU. And the thing that reminds me, the thing that stands out to me is this LSU team reminds me a lot of our teams in the 90s at Florida, in that it had a really creative offense that was aggressive throwing the football, led by a quarterback that was a Heisman Trophy winner, a guy that knew exactly where to go with the ball. You got talented receivers that make it difficult to match up, and then you got running backs that are a little underrated and undervalued for what they do. So it's a special group of people, and they seem like they really like to be together. The coaches, the players, they all have great camaraderie together. And even though this is kind of uncharted territory for them, they seem to handle everything as if they've been there before. Media day this morning looked like they were 100% comfortable with that kind of atmosphere. They handled going to Tuscaloosa earlier and winning that game. Right. They handled the SEC championship game easily, and I expect them to do the same here on Saturday. It's just a special group, TB.
Well, and here's the thing. People have asked me. Oklahoma's played in. This will be 3 straight semifinals they played in, and LSU hadn't been here before. I said, dude, if you can go to Tuscaloosa and win, I don't think you're going to be fazed by anything, right?
I don't think you're going to be fazed by anything, and I'm wondering if this is not a big purple and gold outing on Saturday. I mean, think about it now. Oklahoma's been in the last 3, as you mentioned. It's difficult doing that every year. LSU, those people have been passionate about showing up to support their team, get a chance to drive down the road, then a potential home game in January if they can make it to the national championship game. I bet it's going to be a pretty raucous atmosphere for the Tiger fans.
Let me ask this, and I've asked this to some other people. Is Ed Orgeron, you know this, that when Ed Orgeron got that job at LSU, I mean, look, they wanted Tom Herman. I mean, there's no doubt. They went out to Tom Herman. They didn't get him. When they didn't get him, Ed Orgeron got the job. And people just, oh, are you kidding me? This guy's a defensive line coach, and he talks funny. And how's it going to work? Why? What has Ed Orgeron done to make this thing work?
First of all, that old Garth Brooks song, thank goodness for unanswered prayers or whatever it is, man. These guys all had different plans, whether we're talking about Orgeron potentially wanting to be the head coach or thinking he was deserving to be the head coach at USC after stepping in that interim role, not getting that job. Joe Burrow not winning the job at Ohio State. All of these things, I talk about the confluence of events that have had to happen to put all of these folks in the same place at the same time. The integration of Joe Brady and what he's brought in terms of the passing game, creativity. It's just amazing, all of the things that had to happen at the perfect time with the perfect group of people. And I think they all kind of enjoy being overlooked in that old Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer island of misfit toys. Well, they found a place here where they all fit in, and they're all feeding off of that energy that Coach O brings.
We're here with the SEC Network's Chris Doering. Look, Chris, you played with Danny Werfel. I covered Danny Werfel. He was as cool a customer. You talk about knowing where to throw the ball and having a coach who knew what to do. What makes Joe Burrow special? Because, I mean, a year ago we saw him, and he was a good quarterback, but he wasn't in a system that really took advantage of his skill set, and now he is. But in your mind as a receiver, why is this guy so good?
First of all, I think Joe Burrow does what he's asked to do. And I think last year, I remember middle of the season, I did a little breakdown about Joe Burrow and him getting his team into the best plays at the line of scrimmage, particularly run plays, checking away from a safety, getting them to the right, blocking up front. I mean, it seemed like he made the most of his opportunity in that offense. Well, now that offense is expanded and asking him and allowing him to do much more. And I think he really, obviously, is a student of the game. His father's a coach. He grew up around it. I think, secondly, he's got supreme confidence. He's never really shaken. And I think he's as competitive as anybody you could ask for at the quarterback spot. So I think that, along with what I say the most valuable asset that he has, is his feet. Make him a great player. The feet, the ability to slide in the pocket, allow the receivers to have an extra second to get open, and then the accuracy with which he throws the football. I mean, those guys are able to catch the ball in stride, and a lot of the yards they make are after the catch, which is a credit to the quarterback for finding the right guy and then putting where they can catch it and keep rolling without having to break stride.
On the other sideline, you've got Jalen Hurts. We're talking about a guy who, this will be the 4th playoff he's been in as a player. 3 at Alabama, one at Oklahoma. If somehow Oklahoma were to win this game, he would be playing in his 4th national championship game. He had his worst moment as a college football player in this building down the street. He had his best moment, or certainly one of them, beating Georgia last year in the SEC championship game. This guy, he's a cool dude now. He really is.
He is, and I think anybody that has a problem with Jalen Hurts has a problem with themselves, right? If you're not a fan of his, something's wrong with you, because the guy did everything right. He's put himself in a position now to where he's got a chance to win a national championship with another team, which, you know, I think even Alabama fans would be happy to see Jalen Hurts have a chance to win another championship. But I just think this guy is a natural-born leader. I think people that's both these quarterbacks. I mean, I think if you look at them, guys get better because they're around somebody like Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow. And Jalen may not have played with the same judiciousness with the football that we've seen him play with at Alabama. The turnovers this year, 7 interceptions, some really untimely turnovers, not having the ball as securely when he's carrying it. Those are the things that I think confused me a little bit, but I think at the end of the day, he's as competitive as Joe Burrow is, and the guy's got athleticism for days, as his rushing stats would certainly show you and illustrate with what he's been able to do over 1,000 yards this season on the ground.
And when it comes right down to it, I mean, basically, if there's a path for Oklahoma to win this game, it's going to have to be something you just mentioned. Jalen Hurts has got to take care of the football, but he's also got to maintain possession and move the chains and keep Joe Burrow and that offense sitting over there.
Yeah, I think that's an important part, but I also think finishing drives with touchdowns is an important part of it too, because this, I've said it time and time again, LSU's offense not only puts pressure on the opposing defense, they put pressure on the opposing offense. If you think back to that Texas game, they were going back and forth. Texas was holding serve every time LSU was able to score. Texas answered. Well, finally, the defense forced them to kick a field goal, and they didn't hold serve in that one instance. So LSU's incredibly efficient when they get down to the red zone. More times than not, they're scoring touchdowns. So Oklahoma has to possess the football, but they got to finish when they get into the red zone with touchdowns and not field goals.
Yeah, you know, I'm always interested in interesting coaching matchups, and I got to believe that Lincoln Riley, who's one of the best offensive mind play callers of this generation, going against Dave Aranda, who's, you know, his defense has given up some yards. I understand that. But Dave Aranda is one of the very best. Just that chess match is going to be interesting to watch.
It's going to be an interesting chess match. But I also think, finally, for Dave Aranda, he's got his guys as healthy as they've been all season, right? Getting those guys back. The resurgence of that defense, you can point to the fact that they were disrespected when Rob Mullins talked about, wow, the LSU's defense is not as good, maybe the weak point of that team. They stepped it up after that Ole Miss game. But I think a lot of that had to do with them finally getting healthy and getting guys that are back playing with the confidence that we expected them to. I wasn't surprised they played well like they did against Texas A&M and Georgia. I was more surprised that they played poorly early in the season, given Dave Aranda and his football mind and that defense with all those great players they have on that side of the ball.
You know, it was almost like after they gave up all those yards to John Rice Plumlee. You know, you got to put that game in perspective. It came after the Alabama game, one of the biggest games they've had.
And a lot of those were in the second half when LSU had their foot on the gas for the majority of the first half. Yeah,
and so I think the LSU's defense, as you mentioned, after they got dropped in the rankings, said, okay. And they said specifically that defense was
called
them out right there on national television.
That might have been the worst thing that could have happened for Oklahoma, was to have that defense called out. Because I truly believe that this is a really, really good defense. They've been overshadowed. They didn't play their best. But it's like college basketball. They're playing their best at the right time in the season, and the trajectory is certainly on its way up.
So you like LSU in this game?
I do like LSU. You're telling me that LSU scores 48 points a game. Your job is to stop them. And you're down your best pass rusher,
right,
and you're down your second leading tackler and maybe your most important person in the secondary. I don't find a way that I can come up with any scenario where Oklahoma is able to win.
So LSU in New Orleans on January 13th. Who do you like to be there with them?
I like Clemson. You know, I know you can talk about them not having been tested this season, but they've certainly been tested before. And it seems like Trevor Lawrence is playing his best ball at the right time of the season as well.
All right, Chris Doering, SEC Network. Thanks for being with us, my friend. It's always
Love
good to see
being with you, man. Thanks, Tony.
All right, take
Appreciate
care.
it, man.
All right, we'll be back after this. This is Tony Barnard sitting in for Paul Finebaum. This is the Paul Finebaum Show.
We get to know Michigan and the Wolverines and what they've done this season. Their 3 losses: Ohio State, Penn State, Wisconsin. Some people thought this season was going to spiral out of control to a 7-5, even a 6-6 number early on after the Wisconsin beatdown. They're better than I think a lot of people thought they would be of late. But look, for a Mac Jones, for instance, this is a precursor to potentially taking the reins full-time next year. Would you?
Yeah, I think it's a glimpse into the future for sure, Dari, and it's going to be interesting because now he's going to have a full allotment of time to prepare for this team, right? And one thing that I will say about a Michigan defense, if you really want to talk Michigan ball, they're going to hang their hat on physicality on defense. They're going to hang their hat on being very aggressive. Don Brown every year is going to dial up and have defensive schemes that are going to be problematic, okay? Now, where they could be a little vulnerable is they probably play a little bit too much man coverage, because he's going to do a lot of stunning and blitzing up front. A lot of backs are to the ball. And look, you play a lot of man coverage against these wideouts.
Yeah.
And if Mac Jones is on and he is efficient, it's rack yards. What are rack yards? It's run after the catch. And there's nobody in the country that I've seen in the last 2 years, barring nobody, that is better with the ball in their hands after the catch than Alabama's wideouts.
So you're telling
Who
me
we want to see play in this game.
That's right. Oh, yeah, we'd love to, right? And when you think about that, too, we talk about availability. 3 of their top 4 guys, they're all draft-eligible guys. These are guys that could be considering, am I going to play in this bowl game? Even still, you still got a Jalen Waddle, right? He's definitely playing college football next season. He's a difference maker. But when you look at that defense and what they've been all season long, and you think, boy, this has been our identity. We're going to play a lot of heavy man and a lot of activity in the core. Boy, is that dangerous. When you look at what they've been in the passing game, and you mentioned Mac Jones, the other piece of it is when you look at another elite team like an Ohio State Buckeyes offense, and they ran right over Michigan. You think about Najee Harris. Is he going to be in this thing? Is he going to be dialed in? And if not, is it Brian Robinson? Who steps up in that rushing attack? I do think you'll see a full complement of the Alabama offensive front.
Welcome back to the College Football Hall of Fame here in Atlanta, Georgia. Fans are going through, having a special time. If you haven't been here, you really need to come. If you're a college football fan, this is a very, very special place. And it's Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock. The college football playoff semifinals will take place. Number 1 LSU versus number 4 Oklahoma, with the winner advancing to the national championship game in New Orleans on January 13th, and we'll see how it turns out. Now I get a chance to do one of my favorite things, to talk football to my good friend Holly Rowe. Holly, it's Tony Barnhart. How are you?
I'm so great. How are you?
I'm doing very, very well. So, listen, I know it has been a long day for you, but I'm interested to know off the top, based on the media days this morning, the people you talk to, what's your best guess about Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
I believe that it will be doubtful if we see Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He suffered a leg injury. We believe it to be a hamstring or groin type of injury in practice last week. And they just think that if they could get through this game without him, give him an additional 2 weeks rest and healing for a possible national championship game, that would be the best plan. So right now it is looking doubtful. He did miss media day today, and he did not practice. I was at LSU's practice, and they have a freshman, Ty Davis-Price, who got most of the first team reps. Guys, he's from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I asked him about getting more playing time or possibly starting in this game, the biggest of the year for LSU, and he said he's ready. He's carrying the pride of Baton Rouge on his shoulders, so he was very confident with his abilities.
Well, Price was a highly recruited player. John Emery, for some folks, was the #1 player in the country. So Holly, they've obviously got depth there. They're not a Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the SEC player, all SEC running back, but does it change what LSU wants to do offensively if Edwards-Helaire is not there?
I think it does change. In fact, when I asked Ed Orgeron today about it, he said we need 3 different guys to do the little bits and pieces that make up one Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Like, he is the most versatile player on this offense. And let me just tell you where this impacts them the most. He is a running back who has 1,290 yards on the season, but Tony, he has 50 receptions. All these great wide receivers for LSU, and he is 3rd on the team in catches. Now, where that has shown up is late in the season, they started figuring this matchup with Clyde Edwards-Helaire on linebackers, and the coaches told me, we really love that linebacker matchup because guys have a hard time stopping him in space. So he had gotten a lot of his catches in the last 4 games of the season. They really had found a matchup that they really liked with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And I don't know if the 3 guys that we will see in that position now are able to do just exactly that, but they will continue to have confidence in them and throw them the ball. I talked to Tyrion today, and he said, hey, I haven't dropped a ball yet in practice. So he was feeling good that he could at least have some good hands filling into that role.
Well, we've all seen what Joe Burrow has done. It's been a remarkable season, Heisman Trophy winner. It just looks, just from talking to Joe before the season, during the season, and now, nothing, Holly, phases this guy. He's been on a whirlwind tour, the awards tour, but it looks like he's ready to play this football game.
Well, I asked Joe today, how did he turn the page from the Whirlwind Awards, getting the Heisman, the Maxwell, the Davey O'Brien, every possible award? And he said, well, the first thing I did was take a nap on the airplane on the way home back to Louisiana. He said then he got into film study, got into his playbook, and really said, it hasn't been hard for me to get back in and lock in and focus. But the thing that I love about Joe, I mean, this just tells you everything you need to know about this kid. So they had this little basketball shootout thing yesterday where they're competing against Oklahoma. He said he has not had a basketball in his hands for 2 years, and he went 10 of 12 from the three-point line to help LSU win that challenge. He hasn't even shot the ball for 2 years, and he was that accurate. And that's the level of accuracy we see from him on the college football field as well.
You know, Holly, I asked this question to some other people today. I'm curious about your take on it. We've all seen a lot of great quarterbacks come through college football, but what he has done this year in obviously what is the best offensive system for him has been nothing short of remarkable. His decision-making is as good as I've seen.
I think his decision-making is the key because he owns this offense. He knows it inside and out. Watching him at practice today, he is directing everyone and everything. He knows what the play is designed to do. He knows what the weakness of the defense will be on every play. That's how locked in he is. And that's why we're seeing him challenge the great Colt McCoy's completion percentage record.
Right.
He's going to possibly make NCAA history as the best decision maker of all time with that completion percentage. He's on pace to do that. But the other thing that Joe Burrow has going for him is he has some really special wide receivers. I was at practice today, and I actually got to stand in one of the drills that they do with Coach Joe Brady, and you are fast getting caught like 3 different tennis balls coming at you while he asks you questions about your assignment on offense. So you have to think while you're catching, and then they do these low kind of pepper the football low ball drills, and you have to pick up the ball before it hits the ground. So I got a firsthand look at what it takes to be a great wide receiver for LSU today. He's got some really good guys catching the football for him. So Joe Burrow is wonderful and special and transcendent, but he's also got some guys on the other end that are doing a great job catching the football for him.
Well, Holly, I'll let you go with this. I mean, one of the things people have told me all day is that if there is any path for Oklahoma in this game, then Jalen Hurts has got to run the ball, move the chains, shorten the game, and more importantly, take good care of the football. You know, Dave Aranda is one of the best coordinators out there. What does that matchup look like, Aranda going against Lincoln Riley in that situation?
It's like a genius family feud, you know, like I'm going to make this chess move, I'm going to do this. It is going to be so fun to watch all those adjustments. But I will tell you this, a lot of people are making a big deal about the last time LSU faced a running quarterback in John Rice Plumlee against Ole Miss, and they gave up 700 yards of offense. Well, I talked to a bunch of the LSU defenders today, and they said, look, that was really the first time all season we had faced a rushing quarterback like that. It was a shock. They were coming off a difficult physical game against Alabama, and they said we are in a different mindset now. So they really know that their weakness against a running quarterback was exposed, and they are all about trying to stop that. I do say, though, Jalen Hurts is a little more difficult to bring down than John Rice Plumlee, so it's a different load that they will have to handle. He's about the biggest, strongest running back in the country right now playing quarterback for the Sooners.
All right, very good. Good stuff, as always, from Holly Rowe. Holly, thanks for being with us on a long day, okay?
Do you have a College Football Hall of Fame section? I just keep waiting for the section for you to appear.
Oh, bless your heart.
Let's get on that. Get on that.
All right. Thank you, Holly. It's good to be with you.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Take care. All right. We're going to take a break now. When we come back, we're hoping to be joined by Mr. Barrett Salih of CB.
We saw a resilient team. Of course, I was probably in the same boat as many volunteer fans, and I know you, being from Tennessee, you know, the first two games, you know, not knowing what we were watching. And, of course, that happens in college football. Any given day, any team can beat anyone. But to see the team go through that adversity, learn from it, and then come back and finish out the season strong, I know it was very important for the seniors. It was, of course, important for Coach Pruitt. I think it showed the young guys in the program the type of talent that they have on the team and the type of team that they can be. They're able to fight back from being down 0-2 to 2 games they should have won and still have a 5-game win streak at the end of the year and still make it to a Florida bowl game. Then they'll definitely be able to hit the ground running the next year and continue to stack and build on their performances. So I think they're headed in the right direction. It's literally you're sitting on the tarmac at the airport and you have ESPN pulled up on your phone and you're watching it, or you're in night meetings, you have your phone turned all the way down, you just have it sitting over there, just staying tuned in. You got the ESPN updates on your watch. So I've been tuned in to every single game since I left. I know when I was up in Pittsburgh, we had like 5 or 6 balls on the team. You know, we were always talking about the game leading up to it. And then on Saturday, we were tuned in, whether it's at dinner on the big screen watching it or whether it's watching it on our phone. Of course, when you're at home, it's a little easier. You just get to go home and chill in your living room while you're off and watch it. But on the road, it can be kind of, you know, interesting. You know, you lose phone reception in the air, so you're trying to log into the internet on the plane, trying to get the Wi-Fi codes to watch it. So we're definitely dedicated to watching the Volunteers every Saturday. I can promise you that. I also know Jarrett. I got a chance. He was a freshman when I was a senior, and I know the type of kid he is, and I think he showed that throughout the season. You know, bouncing back from maybe a tough outing to come out and perform well, bouncing back from injuries. He was out there playing, you know, a week after surgery with a cast on his hand. So it shows his dedication to the sport. It shows his resiliency. It shows his toughness. And then it also shows how much he cares about his team and how much he cares about the University of Tennessee. You know, he knows he was his best option to win, so he's going to be sure he's prepared and ready to go on Saturdays, no matter what stands in his way. So it's been great to watch him succeed, watch him to continue to play at higher levels as the weeks have surpassed. And I'll be glad to spend some time with him. I haven't gotten a chance to check in with a lot of the guys just with how crazy this year has been. But when they get down to Jacksonville, I'll be excited to spend some time with them, hang out, and just talk ball, just talk life with them. And it'll be a great reunion. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I've been ecstatic to see how they finish the year and want them to go out with a bang here in Jacksonville.
All right, welcome back to the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta, Georgia. That wall you see there is something like 738 helmets of every school, every college, everybody who plays college football. It's a 3-story window, and Barrett Sallee from CBSSports.com is somewhat imposing when you walk in, is it not?
It's intimidating. It's very intimidating. Half of them I don't even know what they are. Like you have to research to see what some of these logos are, but it's pretty awesome.
One of the neat things about it is when you come to the College Football Hall of Fame, they give you buy your ticket, they give you a lanyard, and you punch in a computer code so that when you walk in, the lights light up to whatever school you're visiting for. So it's really cool. So how'd your holiday? Good?
It was good. It was good.
This home game for you?
A home game for me. I had the family over, like 12, 13 of us. Smoked a 18-pound turkey on the Big Green Egg.
Sweet.
It was pretty solid. Extreme dad life happening at my house.
I've been threatened to get a Big Green Egg for forever.
It will change your life.
It'll change your life.
It will change
it's kind
your
of like
life.
satellite radio. It'll change your life.
It is the best thing you will ever buy. You can do anything you want. We did a pizza on it one time, which was phenomenal. We tried cookies. That didn't work out as great as we had thought, but at least it's possible. You can try it.
Do
But 18-pound smoked turkey. It was delicious.
All right. You made it to Media Days today?
I did.
What was your takeaway from Media Days?
Oklahoma is very disinterested in talking to all of us. Why
would that be?
They don't want to talk to us at all. LSU, I've seen LSU 5-6 times now, so like they're always personable. But Oklahoma just seemed like they didn't want to be here, and honestly, like that could be a byproduct of them taking the Jalen Hurts mindset. It's almost like that Oklahoma has been Sabanized without actually having Nick Saban on that team. So because you basically have a clone of Nick Saban at the quarterback spot. So that was my biggest takeaway, and the size. And I know, like, you come to these games and you see teams from different parts of the country, and most of the time I'm in the SEC.
Size of LSU versus size of Oklahoma.
It's like looking at varsity versus JV.
Really?
Yeah, with the exception of a few guys like Neville Gallimore and some of those guys. I mean, LSU looks like an NFL team compared to Oklahoma.
Right, exactly. Well, you sit here, and obviously the discussion all day has been about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And the more and more people he ain't going to play.
No, he's not.
He's not going to play. No.
If he's 85% or 80% now, or whatever it is, a week and a half removed from an injury, he's not playing.
Yeah.
No way.
It sounds like they're just trying to drag it out, because if it's a hamstring and
it takes one cut.
One bad cut. And they said he'd run straight ahead, but he'd not cut.
If he was not cleared as of 6 hours ago, right. I mean, the game's not that far away, so I would imagine he's not playing, no.
Well, I just talked to Holly Rowe and asked her this, and I'll ask you that. Look, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is an all-SEC running back who got really, really good in the second half of the season. The question now becomes, at LSU, you got a ton of really good players. People who, as Paul Johnson used to say, people that came highly recommended. Okay? So
he probably should have recruited those kind of players, incidentally.
No. But the question is, does it fundamentally change what LSU wants to do if he can't play?
Not necessarily, because they still want to pass to set up the run. They're not going to keep a running back in to block all that much, because LSU doesn't really do that as much as they have in years past. It does change a little bit about how they operate, I think more specifically with Thaddeus Moss, because Joe Burrow has said consistently as the season has gone on that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the MVP of the team because he provides that safety valve. If these long, slow developing routes, if he's under pressure, he knows Clyde's going to be where Clyde's supposed to be. Can you trust Davis Price or any of the other guys to do that? And the answer is probably no, because they haven't done it. But you do know that Thaddeus Moss is an extremely gifted and multidimensional talent. He can stress you up the seam at tight end, but we've seen at times him be the guy that sort of leaks out in the flat and becomes that safety valve. So I think it does change a little bit about what they do, but in reality, is it going to make a huge difference? I don't think so, because I think Clyde's best work and the most important things that he has done are close games out, specifically the Alabama game. I mean, you've stood next to him. I've stood next to him. I'm 6 feet tall. They lift him at 5'10". He ain't 5'10". He's 5'7", 5'8". And that might be generous.
He is a fire plug.
But he hits you hard. And the fact that he has that kind of ability and that kind of impact and can take over a game like that, that's what he does best, and that's what that team needs in those spots. We don't know if Davis Price or John Emery or those guys can do that.
We've been covering college football for a while now, both of us have, and we have seen quarterbacks come and develop and turn into really good players. But I'm trying to think if we've seen somebody who came in as a transfer, as a junior, and was like Burrow. He was okay. I mean, he was okay, but he wasn't anything special. And then you put him into the right offensive system to take advantage of his skill set, and boom, you got a Heisman Trophy winner who's probably going to pass for 5,000 yards in the season.
You haven't seen it to this extent, but at LSU, Zach Mettenberger's first year at LSU, he was just kind of a guy, like kind of like Burrow was last year. The next year, I think he was the first one in LSU history to throw for 3,000, maybe second. I don't know if Jamarcus did it, but Zach had a really good senior season at LSU with Odell and Jarvis Landry. Now, there was not really a change in the system, and clearly it was not anywhere close to the level that we have this year with Joe Burrow, but it is kind of that same path where, you know, the transfer comes in, he's just sort of okay, and then it clicks to a point where, you know, it's a bit of a surprise for a lot of folks. So that's the one that kind of sticks out to me. I mean, you know, Cam Newton didn't play at Florida, so you can't really count that. You know, but yeah, I mean, it's rare to have this kind of thing happen in the SEC where you just have this generational type talent evolve from somebody who has already been there and shown that really prior to that he didn't have that kind of talent.
I've asked other people this as well, and it's their take on Ed Orgeron. I mean, you're talking about a guy who was an utter failure in his first stint as a head coach, and he'll tell you that. And
yes, he will.
Has told us that because it's true.
Yeah.
And became an interim coach and didn't get the job. It was devastated by that at UCLA. And LSU, I don't care what they say, they wanted Tom Herman. Tom Herman was the guy that they wanted to get, and they didn't get him. And when Ed Orgeron was introduced, some of those people are going, are you kidding me?
This is not going to go well.
This is not going to go well. We're just going to hold on to him until we find the next guy that we really want. Why has it worked for Ed Orgeron and LSU?
He swallowed his pride and understood that stubbornness gets you fired, and stubbornness is what got Les Miles fired. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And Ed Orgeron was going down that path. And even last year, I know they went to the Fiesta Bowl, they beat UCF, but had he not changed his philosophical approach and had he not swallowed his pride, it would have been the same thing this year, I think, with Joe Burrow. It would have been a wasted year. It would have been one of those Les Miles, Jim Harbaugh style, 10 wins, get you to a New Year's Six bowl game. That's it. Right. That's the ceiling. But he recognized that the way he wants to coach football and the way he likes football to be played does not win you championships. It's the same thing that Nick Saban did with Lane Kiffin. When Nick Saban was lobbying for that silly 10-second rule to slow down offenses with Brett Bielema, he was also hiring Lane Kiffin and installing a hurry-up offense with Blake Sims, and they went to the playoff as a result. Ed Orgeron followed that same path. He recognized that, hey, you know what? I really don't like the way this football's being played right now, but I got to go find a guy who is smarter than me and that can understand exactly what needs to be done in this day and age. And so you hire a young guy, a guy who's been around the block. You take a chance on a guy who impressed you in one meeting in the offseason when the Saints came up to Baton Rouge, and you see what happens. You roll the dice, and he rolled them, and it worked.
Well, and it's hard for coaches to admit, Barrett.
You trying to say that coaches have egos?
Oh, my word. I'm just sitting there going, you know, for him to say, I can win 10 games a year at LSU without breaking a sweat, because I got a lot of really good players.
Yeah.
But if Alabama is the gold standard in this league, I'm not going to beat Alabama because look at what they're doing. We're going to have to do something fairly radical to beat those guys. And that,
no doubt.
And you're right. It could have blown up in his face.
But, you know, that's what makes what Ed Orgeron has done so impressive, is because he learned from his mistakes. And like you said, he'll tell you, Ole Miss, wholly unprepared for that job. When he was the Ole Miss head coach, he was, you know, micromanaging everything. It was long nights. It was nonstop. It was, you know, it was leading to burnout. And I think he recognized when he got to USC how he wanted to coach. And the fact that he didn't get those chances at USC, he was devastated. I think the reason why is because he felt like he had changed. Like his approach to what needed to be done to be successful as a head coach had changed. He just wasn't getting that chance to prove it, and he finally did. And yeah, it was going in a wrong direction, but he realized it and fixed it. And so, I mean, it's been remarkable to see what he's done. And for a guy like Ed, I mean, people criticized everything about him at Ole Miss and all that stuff, but for a guy who's as humble and as self-aware and as genuine as Ed Orgeron to have this kind of success, it really is. It's nice to see, and it's good. Good things happen to good people who understand, how to treat people and how to manage, a not just a program but a way of life, a culture, and he's done a really good job of that.
So you like LSU in this game?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So is there a path for Oklahoma at all that you can see?
It's the holiday season, so praying is typically what people do. No, not really. I mean, unless Joe Burrow makes 4 or 5 mistakes,
right,
then
he hasn't
no
done.
one's solved it yet. And so, I've seen LSU, like I said, 5, 6 times this year. I think this is my 6th time. When I saw them in Austin, and they kept their foot on the gas, when every single coach in America would say, we're going to run 3 times and punt, and they went out there and they still kept their foot on the gas. I mean, and that was after a game. Now, I know Texas's defense was nothing to write home about. In fact, they were awful. In that game, Joe Burrow got his teeth knocked in by Texas's defense consistently, and he stood there and he kept on keeping on. He did his thing, and if that doesn't work, if hitting him consistently doesn't work, what are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
Because the only team that's been able to slow LSU down has been Auburn, and that defensive line doesn't exist anywhere else except at Auburn.
That's right.
So unless suddenly Derek Brown and Marlon Davidson go play defensive line for Oklahoma, it ain't happening.
All right, so LSU in New Orleans, January 13th. Who's going to be there to play them?
Clemson.
Yep.
Clemson, I know we have this discussion about where they deserve to be seated, and when the playoff pairings got announced, the whole Clemson hasn't played anybody conversation needed to go away because they might not have played anybody.
But they beat them.
But there's a reason that no one watched Clemson games in the second half, and it's not because they weren't playing anybody. It's because they were blowouts. So I think the job that Brent Venables has done this year has been remarkable. And here's the thing, too. Justin Fields is all. If it wasn't for Joe Burrow, Justin Fields would have won the Heisman in probably the biggest runaway in history. But you go back and look at the big games that he's played against big teams, their signature wins. Has he ever had to go throw for throw with a high-powered offense? Wisconsin twice. Jack Cohn is not very good. He's not exactly a superstar out there. Michigan, they're not intimidated by Michigan at all. Penn State with Sean Clifford. Okay, but is Justin Fields going to go throw for throw with Trevor Lawrence against that Clemson defense?
Good point.
No, not happening.
All right, always good stuff with my man
Yes, sir.
Barrett Sallee. Thanks for joining us. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're here to take your calls at 855-242-7285. This is Tony Barnhart sitting in for Paul Finebaum. This is the Paul Finebaum Show.
So this is obviously familiar territory for you, and so many people talk about that, but why is this time different?
It's just different being here with an entirely different team, getting to experience these things with a new group of guys. It's different, but I think we're ready for it, and I think we're prepared for it all.
I was just talking to one of your running backs, Kennedy Brooks, and he was like, yeah, Jalen's got some moves that can make people really get in trouble and break some people's ankles. What is it about those moves that changes this offense?
I just go out there and play. If I get loose, I try and go score. And I think the O-line does a great job of opening up different holes, and especially KB. You talk about him. I call him Pawpaw because he walks around like a little old man. But he's a great running back.
He also got the glasses too.
Yeah.
Okay, so talk to me about what this team's motivation is heading into this game. There are some doubters out there, and look, you've been doubted a good bit your entire career. So how does that fuel you?
I just think we got to control what we can control. You know, we control our actions. We are the master of our faith. So we just got to go out there and execute and do our jobs.
When you think about this game, and it's an LSU team that you've beat twice, why are they, though, a different challenge this time around?
You know, I'm on a different team. That's a whole different team than what I've experienced playing against. So regardless, you just got to go out there and, like I said, execute, do our jobs, regardless of what the outside thinks or whatever.
Can you believe this? I mean, here you are. You're going to have another chance at a national championship. You've transferred to Oklahoma for another opportunity. You've already won a national championship with another team. Your story just continues to be one of the favorites of everybody, but can you believe it?
I'll reflect on it all. I'll look back on it all later on in life. Right now, I can focus on winning this game.
What does Lincoln Riley say to you?
What do you mean?
Just about everything.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't say much. He wants me to go lead and win football games for him.
And then what can you say about the way that this team has responded to you as their leader? You came in, you had to win over a whole new locker room. How were you able to do that?
Yeah, just coming in and being myself. I'm very appreciative of the fact that they embraced me, put me as their leader, and kind of they allowed me to do all these things. And, you know, I didn't come in trying to demand anything, trying to demand any type of respect. It was all earned, and I had to earn it all from them. And, you know, we've came a long way.
One more quick one for you. I heard there's been a lot of games going on. There was like a basketball game. Have you been nailing it at all?
No, I didn't shoot. CeeDee Lamb, Tyrese Robinson, he has probably the best shot on the team. So
you were saving it all up for the game. Thanks so much, Jalen Hurts.
Thank you.
All right, welcome back to the ATL, Atlanta, Georgia. There's the sky view. That's not very far from where we are right now at the College Football Hall of Fame. And just down the road, a little bit further down the road, is Mercedes-Benz Stadium, where Saturday afternoon, 4 o'clock, number 1 LSU takes on number 4 Oklahoma in the college football playoff semifinal. Hi, this is Tony Barnhart sitting in for Paul. Paul's taking some well-deserved time off. And we are here to take your calls at 855-242-7285. We're going to take your calls all the way up until 7 o'clock. Please join us here on a special day at the College Football Hall of Fame. So let's go to some calls, shall we? Let's go to Cowboy in Florida. Hello, Cowboy. It's Tony Barnhart.
Hey, Tony. How you doing, man?
I am doing great. Thanks for asking. What you got on your mind today?
What I got on my mind today is thanks for taking my call, and I cannot believe I am talking to the Tony Barnhart.
Well, you're very, very kind. I think some people would say, who's Tony Barnhart? But you're very kind to say that.
Well, let me tell you this much, Mr. Tony. I've been following college football all my life. One thing, I'm a diehard Alabama fan, no doubt. I remember losing years we had, and I remember winning years. But the person I want to talk about tonight is Joe Burrow. Mm-hmm. When I watched the Heisman, I watched the show and the ceremony. When that young man, when he got up and he spoke, the things he had to say and the tears he brought from in his eyes, I do hope that everything works out for him. And I might have some Bama fans get mad, but I hope he makes it all the way because he deserves it.
Well, you're right. It was a moving thing to watch, and for him to talk about his hometown of Athens, Ohio, and the poverty rate there, and for people to turn around. I think the number is well over $500,000 that have been donated to food banks in Athens, Ohio, and other places. It was it's one of those things that's what's really good about college football. It was a great thing to watch.
Yes, sir. That's what moves a lot of people. And, and I really do think, in the Alabama game, I hate if we lost, but I think that was the turning moment that when they did defeat Alabama, and at that point, they're on a mission. And Tony knows as well as I do, throughout the years, sometimes a team comes along where they have everything and they're hungry. I really do believe this LSU team has that. and I really do believe that they will take it all away.
Well, it's going to be fascinating to watch, and if Joe Burrow and his folks could cap it off with a national championship, it'd be one of the best stories we've seen in a long, long time. Cowboy, I appreciate you calling. Call us again next time, okay?
Hey, I appreciate you, Tony. Thank you very much, and have a happy holiday to you and your family.
And to you as well. Let's go to Swami from Tennessee. Hi, Swami.
Hey, Tony. I always enjoy you filling in for Paul.
Well, thank you.
I wanted to ask you a question, though, Tony. A lot of people say that, Bama's just not the same on D since, Kirby's left and Jeremy Pruitt. But I think it's more, to me, of the offense they're playing right now, this up-tempo offense. Saying I don't know any team, Tony, that plays the up-tempo offense is good on defense. I mean, is it because of the offense they face in practice, or what do you think?
It's really a couple of things, Swami. That is a factor. There's no doubt that when your team is an up-tempo offense, the defense is going to be in more positions. Sorry, Swami, got to